Well, yeah, postmodernism. I have a little book here that I wrote about postmodernism, actually. Um, I mean, part of what postmodernism did was it opened up the canon. Modernism was a very, well, okay, when we talk about postmodernism, it depends, because it's called postmodernism, it means that it is the thing that comes after modernism. So in certain ways, how you define postmodernism depends on how you define modernism. So there is, but the sort of, I guess I would say, more standard definition of modernism, which then postmodernism is opposed to, is one in which there is a sense that there are kind of universal standards of beauty, that the kind of individual identity of the artist is essentially irrelevant to our understanding of the art, and in fact can be a distraction, that the best art is the art which has, in a sense, escaped from particularity, from identity, from narrative, from all of these things that art used to be about, and has escaped from those into this kind of more kind of universal, kind of abstract sense of beauty, proportion, and harmony. So that is the kind of definition of modernism, which was promulgated by Clement Greenberg, which is I think has been the starting point for kind of the postmodern reaction. So postmodernism is then kind of the opposite of all that. And so postmodernism talks about, instead you bring it back to the particularity, you bring it back to the individual, and it's also, it's that postmodernism is about not believing that there's something universal. That we don't have universal standards of taste, and that in fact the supposed universality, it was really a way of imposing a very particular kind of Eurocentric, white male vision of what art should be on the world. And so in the postmodern era, that split apart. Feminism, was one of the very important movements in introducing, all of these other things that art could be. And of course, multiculturalism was also a very important element of it. And that's where I see religion fitting into this whole thing, because when you sort of break that, apart, that sort of myth of universality, you begin to realize that religion is has always been and continues to be a very important kind of engine for art. It's the thing that drives people. In a sense, many of the questions that religion asks, which have to do with, who are we, why are we here, what is our place in the world, how do we understand what happens after death, these kinds of questions, artists are talking about those too. So the two of them, are very closely linked.